everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Gila Monster Rides. Today we're going to be going over part 2 of the modifications I'm going to be doing to the Royal Enfield Classic 350 behind me, Francine. Today we're going to go over the performance mods. These are going to be engine parts, some of the electronic fuel management system parts. We're going to go through those one by one. And last episode we talked about parts that both have that were more cosmetic, but a lot of those still had some either performance aspect to them or at least some functionality to them. These next set of parts, you won't really be able to see them, so I wanted to make that sort of a separate episode, and also I didn't want to make this one huge episode, so I broke it up a little bit. Went on a beautiful little ride yesterday on Francine, and actually I went on two because I went on a sunset ride, just pretty local, just to relax and maybe do a little filming. So that'll probably be sprinkled into future videos, or beginning or end of some of the next few videos. But let's get to those parts, shall we? So in part 1 of this little series, I showed you the full Hitchcock's DCAT exhaust. That helps the bike breathe a lot better, but not if it doesn't get in air from the intake side. So to handle that, I went ahead and got the full DNA high performance filter kit. Now this filter kit is complete in that you not only get this reusable, you can clean this and re-oil it, high flow air filter, but also the high flow plate. This all mounts together to replace your OEM snorkel and normal paper filter. So this will help the bike breathe a whole lot better. It does increase engine noise, but I'm not really averse to that. Now, there's a whole lot of controversy in some like the Facebook groups and between different YouTubers on what these parts will do for your bike. A lot of people are on both sides of the fence, and a lot of people that like to talk about it on Facebook, a lot of them have stock OEM bikes, and I think in my personal opinion, a lot of them are arguing about something that they've never personally tested. So one of my disappointments with some of the YouTube channels that have done some of this stuff is they've done very subjective testing after they've done some of these mods. Now, some of them have done like 0 to 60 or some hill climb tests, but some of them I feel like the video quality or how they presented the material it was more subjective and not very objective and scientific. I don't think that the butt dyno, meaning your own derriere dyno, is good enough. So what I did was I got a baseline actual dyno done on this from an operation here in town who does a lot of dyno work for motorcycle racing teams. Brought the bike in. They were super cool. We got a baseline dyno on this motorcycle. I'm probably going to put that into a later video, but because I also want to show you like where the power curve was. I can show you the full printout, but the main thing to know at this point is that at the rear wheel, which is important, we're talking real world. Whenever a motorcycle manufacturer gives you power figures at the crank, depending on whether you have a chain drive, belt drive, or shaft drive, you can be certain you will lose a certain percentage of the bike's overall power by the time it gets to the rear wheel. So I have good baseline numbers at the rear wheel. I'd have to look at the dyno again, but I'm pretty sure I remember this right. My personal classic 350 gets 18.2 horsepower at the rear wheel, and I forget at what RPM level that was. But once I start doing some of these mods and all of that, I'll put that into the video, because it's going to be important for the way I present this, to not only present for me to present real objective information to you, but I want you to be able to see how the performance changes, if it changes the character of the bike in a way that you don't like. And I actually think that that's what's happened with some of the YouTubers who have either, I don't want to say it too much, so I'm not trying to necessarily single anybody in particular out, but some of them, I feel like maybe they just don't like how it's changed the character of the bike more than, they think they're letting that color their vision of whether or not the mod actually did something for the bike. But, I could be talking out of my butt. We'll find out. I'm not going to keep anything from you guys. I'm going to present the everything possible I can to you in an objective way so that you can make your own decisions on whether this stuff is important. Now, I wanted to have this bike be basically no holds barred, on, it's going to be a mid 50s styled hot rod. I wanted to go full tilt. So in any case, the DNA air filter going together with the decat exhaust, I felt was an important first step. So there you go with that. Be right back with another part and we'll talk about that. Okay, so I went ahead and actually just grabbed everything left except for one part. We'll save that for last because that's going to be a little extra surprise. Most of this stuff a lot of it is what people have already put on Royal Enfield Classic 350s. There's a little bit of it out there on YouTube. Some of it, there's a good number of videos out. Some of them, I don't think there are any videos out. So I hope that you stay tuned for those videos, because you'll be seeing some things that you won't probably see anywhere else, or maybe only one or two people have done. So, first thing I want to get to, since we have opened up the intake and exhaust, we're moving more air through the engine. These bikes, with their Euro 5 emissions and the EPA emissions standards in the US, they're already running lean. You start pushing more air, it's just going to make the bike hotter. It's important to get a little bit more fueling into the bike to bring down those temps, help it run better. You're actually going to end up creating a little more power. A lot of people go with the Fuel X Lite, and I think the attractive thing, not only about, excuse me, the attractive thing about the Fuel X Lite is it's not only the least expensive fuel mixture mod you can do, but it's one that's, you basically plug it in and forget it. It auto tunes your bike for more or less most of your simplest engine mods, and it just helps the bike run a little bit better. You're going to get less of that low speed kind of jerkiness. It'll help eliminate that. It'll help keep your bike running cooler. However, I went with the Fuel X Pro Plus. Now so this is the latest one available for the J Series engines, and I went ahead and picked this one up because it's going to work, I think, in tandem with another part on this table. When you're doing engine mods, and I think this is true of basically anything in life, not just engine mods, but there's no such thing as a free lunch. Um, when you add more power in, uh, you're going to have to, in order to add a sufficient amount of power in, or even after you've done that, you need to have the supporting mods to have it all work together, um, to keep the bike running well, and um, well, you'll see what I mean. So the Fuel X Pro Plus um, goes a step beyond the light in that it has a button. This button. Here's the main module, and this plugs in to allow you to go up and down. This is a simple um, up and down temporary switch. Allows you to go up or down in the fuel mixture. There's 10 levels of the air fuel ratio that you can cycle through. A lot of people end up settling at about like 5 or 6, maybe 7. And um, but the other thing that by getting the Pro Plus, this also adds a little bit of extra. I don't know if they're adding extra throttle response in the low rev range, or exactly how that works. But what they say is, here, let's see if it's on the back. Um, their main thing is that they say that this adds more power and torque at the low end of the rev range. And that was very interesting to me. I don't know that I believe that it's the percentages that they're claiming, but I do think that it definitely will help overall. The one thing I might end up, or I will end up changing, I think at first I will just hide this in the bike, and maybe just switch this when if I feel like I need to. But I do eventually want this switch out to where I can get to it. Here's the thing though. This is a mid-50s style bike. It's not a KTM Duke. It's not a new style bike. I think this button, this switch is ugly as sin, and I'm going to replace it. So I've talked to my buddy, the the master mechanic I was referring to, and we've talked about the wiring. And I think what I can do is, as long as I match, um, the power needs of the switch and everything, um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up chopping off the switch, and I'm going to be rewiring this harness to a vintage style, basically up down two-way momentary switch. That way I can maintain the vintage look of the bike, but be able to have on the fly control of my air fuel mixture. Say I'm going to altitude and I just need to, I think actually at altitude you want to lean it out. I, I'd have to double check that, but that would allow me to keep it, the mods, be able to be done on the fly. Now, going along with that, Powertronics, or I should say, the company that makes both of these, Race Dynamics out of India, they were having a wicked sale. So I bought the Powertronics for the J Series engines. This newest version of the Powertronics allows me to do on the fly mods to the maps. This actually gives you a whole lot more map control. This is kind of similar to your DynoJet plug-in ECU controller, with the exception that this allows you to also do ignition timing, which I thought that was exciting. And so there's an app you can download to your phone that you can do a lot of these changes kind of on the fly, really help dial in your bike, for the way you want it to ride. Now, um, I I think I may have to buy the Switch extra because I did not see it in here. But this also allows you to have two different fueling maps. For this bike, I think I'm going to end up creating a sport mode and a touring mode, and then probably just keep it in touring mode most of the time. But that switch allows you to um, change it on the fly. So there's the main module for the Powertronics, and I'm looking at everything. There's the one of the other plug-in parts, and here's the big wiring harness that all goes together. And I think, yeah, I don't see it. There's actually a button, an extra button you can buy that allows you to switch between the two maps. And I thought it was in here, but maybe I have to buy that one extra. But that would be another one where I'm going to rewire it to a very simple vintage style looking switch. So there's the Powertronics. We'll have a lot more information on this one in the future. Like I said, I have not seen anyone put one of these on their Classic 350 yet, or at least put it on YouTube or talk about it in the forums, any of that. But this will allow me, once I go back to the dyno, um, the dyno operator said he'll work with me. They don't normally work with Powertronics because it's not a company really well known in America. Um, but he's going to allow me to do the tuning as we do dyno runs and see if we can't really squeeze everything out of this bike that can possibly be squeezed out. This next part means that it's a part that I feel is necessary for the direction I'm going. It does have a couple downsides I'll talk about. So one of the big criticisms of why you would do all of this to a Classic 350, it centers around the fact that the Classic 350 is speed governed to an indicated 75. I've done the testing just like other people. Comes out to a real world GPS verified 72 miles an hour that you're limited to. Um, Here's my workaround. You may have seen this talked about in some of the forums or on a couple of YouTube channels. This is a Hunter 350 throttle body and ECU. The Hunters, as long as you get the correct part number, which this is a RLT00187/A, and I haven't even opened this up yet. So this is actually like an unboxing video. Let's pop this open, and it does show it on the part number, so you know you're getting the right one. But this eliminates the speed governor on the Classic 350, or a Meteor, actually. Same, you can do this to a Meteor. Let's open this up. See. Yep, there we go. All right, so pretty simple. Yeah, there you go. RLT00187. That's the serial, or not serial number, but that's like the part number of the non-speed governed Hunter throttle body. And there's a place for your throttle. There's your fan, and then this is actually the ECU. Royal Enfield made the ECU and the throttle body one piece. And when I pull my stock throttle body off, I'll shoot a short video, maybe showing these side by side, see if there's any visual difference. I don't think there is, other than the part numbers. So that's going to allow me to get around the speed governor, which will help make all these other mods seem relevant. I can go faster. Not only will the bike be quicker, hopefully, but it will also be faster. Stick that back in here, and then oh, I'm sorry. Um, so I said that there was one aspect about the Fuel X Pro Plus that I felt was important to get over the Lite or the Pro, being that you don't get anything for free. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Here's the Kent Cam. Now the Kent Cam, I've heard differing opinions, from people's subjective, or excuse me, yeah, their very subjective experience of the Kent Cam. Um, but my thought with this being a stage 2 cam, I'm guessing that this really will move the power up to the higher end of the rev range, because these lobes are holding your valves open longer, and at slightly different parts of the rev range than your stock cam does. This is, the Classic 350 is a single overhead cam. And by changing where these come in, the timing of these, and also the shape of this lobe, you can control how long that valve is open, both exhaust and intake. Now, what I'm thinking is that most of what this does is robbing power from the low end and adding it to the high end. Could be wrong. I've seen some YouTubers say that, they feel like they get a bit in the mid range too. We'll end up seeing, but in case it does rob from the low end of the range, I thought that how this Fuel X Pro Plus is marketed might end up negating some of the negative effects by going to the stage 2 cam. So the final thing, I don't know if you can see this, I went ahead and bought the 16 tooth front sprocket too. I've heard that or I've seen that these are kind of a bugger to get on. I got this from Baxter Cycle. It was just 27 bucks. Um, if I can get the bike to be, not only speed unrestricted, but, you know, really increase the power, this will help me keep the revs down at higher speeds. So, being that I want to be able to do some touring on this motorcycle, a lot of that's going to be on back roads or back country highways, the 2-lane highways. But if I need to take an interstate, um, then it would be helpful if it could do it for longer at a lower rev range. So I'm going to go ahead and put this 16 tooth on once I do most of these other mods. I want to kind of test it both ways and see how it goes. Maybe do some 0 to 60 tests. If I can, I'm having trouble finding a place here that's relatively flat, doesn't have a whole lot of traffic so that I can do repeat tests. I keep them as subjective as possible. No, objective. My bad. But in any case, 16 tooth front sprocket will help lower the rev um, range for any particular gear on the bike, and will help, I guess, like keep some of that relaxed ride, but allow me to do some higher cruising speeds at a more comfortable rev range. So we'll see how all that goes. Once I have all of these parts in, I'm going to get another dyno done, and I will present that to you guys. And then there's one last part that I'll put on at that time. Now, actually, let me back up. I think one thing I might end up doing is holding off on the Kent Cam. I'm going to put in everything else besides the Kent cam. I'm going to come back with one more part, and then it'll make sense why I might hold off. But, might do all these, get a dyno done, and I'm doing it mainly just to be as objective as possible, but also that will help me tune the bike so that it's running the best that it can. But I'll come back with one more part that I'll be putting on along with the Kent cam at the same time, and it'll make sense once I come back with that. Now, the final mod that will be going in same time as the Kent cam, I have 4 cylinder head bolts. Why would I have 4 cylinder head bolts? Well, because those aside, we're going to tip this over, get this out real gentle. That piston doesn't have rings on it yet. Set that box aside. This is a stock Royal Enfield Classic 350 cylinder that has been bored out, honed, and cross-hatched to allow for this Himalayan 411 piston. And you can see there, that in real gentle. Himalayan piston in a 350 cylinder. What does that get us? Here's the piston rings. Here's all the gaskets. This brings us to a capacity of 410 cc's on this motorcycle. So we're going to be going from 350 cc's to 410, which I'm simplifying the math a little bit here, but I believe is about a 17% increase in overall capacity. And by using the Himalayan piston, this is a little bit higher compression piston too, so we're not only gaining more in total cc's, but we're gaining some in compression. So that should create a good amount of extra power that all of the other mods, I can retune the bike and hopefully kind of really hot rod this bike up. There's the wrist pin for the there was something else I wanted to go over about this. Oh, the reason it's a 410 instead of 411. Can you guess why? I mean, the Himalayan is a 411. Why wouldn't this bring it to 411? Well, it turns out that the stroke on the Classic 350 is, I believe, I'd have to look back up the numbers to be positive, but I remember correctly when I looked it up, the stroke is 0.5 millimeter shorter than the Himalayans. So by using the Himalayan diameter piston, but with the stroke of the Classic 350, it only comes out to 410, not 411. Very minor difference, won't make a difference in, I believe in how, it's going to perform for me, that one cc. But by going up 17% in capacity and going up, I forget exactly, but I want to say it's like 3 or 4% in the compression pressure. That should allow for a good amount of extra oomph for this bike. So being that I will have the head off, we're going to be dismantling a lot of this stuff. I thought that doing the cam and the big bore kit at the same time would allow me to not have the bike apart several times. So I think that's what I'm going to do is do both these parts same time. That way they also break in together, because I'll be going through a whole new break-in process with this bike. I'm going to be spending about 1,800 miles running it in slowly And that way I can bring it back by 1,800 miles post surgery. The bike should be well broke in, should be more or less at full power. I'll have played around, I think, enough with um, the Fuel X Pro Plus and I'm going to talk to Race Dynamics, see if they can maybe come up with a map for me for between them and Himalayan Tools, who produced this, see if we can come up with some maps that I can start playing with, ECU maps. And then I will bring this to the dyno again, so not only can we get the file numbers, but I can do my kind of final dialing in of the power. So that's it, everybody. We're going to be building one hell of a hot rod out of this Classic 350. I hope you keep tuned in to the channel to follow along with the progress. I'm super excited about this product. I've had most of these things for months, but the weather here has been brutal. I just have not had the energy and fortitude to get out in the heat to work on the bike a whole lot. Plus, I've been riding it around, really enjoying it. It's starting to cool down. I picked up the Interceptor, so while I'm going to be doing some of these things to the bike, I have the another Royal Enfield I can ride around on. I'm also going to be trying to get the Indian Scout up and running. Its stator is shot, so it's got no juice. And there appears to be a short in there too, because it drains the battery like that. So I'm going to be working on the Indian Scout. The Honda Grom has a first gear issue that I'm going to be digging in and trying to get to. It's probably not much of a surprise since I did add a whole lot of power to the Grom with very similar mods, that maybe my trainee just kind of like took the hit. We'll see on that one. But hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Hit the notification bell so that you see when new videos are posted. And thanks for everybody for joining me. This has been part 2 of my show and tell with all the mods I'm putting into the Classic 350. Thanks again.